I'm going to begin this as the slides come up. So last month we had a small group of neighbors from South Oxnard come here and protest the potential homeless services project at 𝐈𝐧𝐸 Inn. And as part of that discussion, people repeatedly made comments, which I've heard in all 5 years that I've been here, that the city, specifically City Hall, neglects South Oxnard. And so tonight I want to share information about all the investments that the city makes in South Oxnard. I understand there are challenges and that life is difficult for various reasons, but I want to argue that it's not because the City Hall neglects South Oxnard. So we want to talk about that, and then I want to address what I consider to be the key problem. Now, with regard to the 𝐈𝐧𝐸 Inn, I have an update on that. First of all, that was not proposed as a city project. That was actually a project proposed by 𝐒𝐳𝐈 Economic Development, which is a nonprofit affordable housing developer. The city was helping them along because we had some inputs into the potential project, like we do with other projects with 𝐒𝐳𝐈. So that was not a city-initiated project, but rather a 𝐒𝐳𝐈. Regardless of that, though, the update is that 𝐒𝐳𝐈 has, given that that project was going through an evaluation process in Sacramento, last week 𝐒𝐳𝐈 notified us that they were pulling out their application. So that project is not going to happen at 𝐈𝐴 Inn. So I just want to give you that update. Now, with regard to South Oxnard and this repeated narrative that City Hall neglects South Oxnard, I want to first talk about just the general development of the city of Oxnard going back to the 1960s. So if you see this map here, you can see starting in with the yellow, I'm gonna do my best with these colors. I can't see all of them. Well, if I look here, I might be able to. Okay, so what's obviously yellow, which is in the center core here, these were, in terms of the second half of the 20th century, these were the earlier neighborhoods of Oxnard. So you can see, now I know there are some people here that have been born and raised here and are older than this, and they remember even before some of those yellow neighborhoods came into existence. And I've been told by some of them, you know, in my day, that was nothing but lemon groves. So I understand time changes, and then I would ask them, what about before the lemon groves? So you can sort of ask that question going back even beyond the 20th century. So then, as the decades proceeded, you can see, you go from the 60s to the 80s to the 90s, and then to much more recently, some of the, what you would call the newer neighborhoods that are in these non-yellow colors. I think this is red, this is blue, and this is blue. 2 shades of blue. I'm colorblind. 2 shades of blue. So I'm going to go to the next slide. Now, what this shows you are the creation and now existence of special assessment districts where neighborhoods pay, in addition to their annual property tax, they pay an extra tax on their property tax in order to take care of their landscaping, their maintenance. In some areas, like in River Park, it actually pays for 2 schools, sports field, and a fire station. So these neighborhoods actually pay more each year on their property tax than the neighborhoods from the 60s. Now, a lot of this, actually all of this, has to do with Prop 13 and then eventually Prop 218 and so on. And in essence, builders were not allowed to build these neighborhoods without setting up special districts to pay for things that prior to Prop 13, the general fund sales tax and property taxes would be able to pay for. So River Park, for example, pays double what everyone else pays in property tax in the city. And so when I hear comments, why does North Oxnard look so much better? A lot of it has to do with these new neighborhoods that pay an extra tax for this funding. Mr. Quiroz, you're shaking your head already, but we'll continue our debate. Now, the older neighborhoods, here's what's actually even more interesting. Unless the property has changed hands outside of the family since pre-Prop 13, properties in those neighborhoods actually still pay the old tax rate, right? Because again, in that instance, thanks to Prop 13, their property tax remains quite low. So if you take the overall average of what the tax revenue is for Oxnard and the public services that are provided, you're actually getting quite a good deal, because if you're paying the old pre-Prop 13 tax assessment rate. So I just want to make that clear, because I don't think people understand in the new neighborhoods, they pay extra property tax every year. Okay, so now I'm going to go over the investments that the city does make in South Oxnard, and this is in no particular order, and I'm not going to get into the fine details. If someone has a burning question, you can ask afterwards, and we have all the department heads here that can answer specific questions. So with regard to recreation services, I'm just going to go over this slide very briefly. We provide after-school programs serving 300 students at 3 school sites in South Oxnard. Let's see, Elm Street, Lemonwood, and Harrington School. We also provide the Hueneme After School Education and Safety, the ACES program, serving 700 students at Hathaway, Haycox, Larson, Sunkist, Williams, Blackstar, and E.O. Green schools. We have a town-keeping program. The City Corps works to help collect illegal dumping and garbage in the alleys. You can see that in 2022, they collected over 45,000 pounds of garbage. With regard to special programs that provides community support, every year we provide free backpacks to kids at the South Winds Rec Center. This most recently serving, the last several years, serving over 1,200 students. We also provide the pre-Thanksgiving dinner to 520 households in and around South Winds. The turkey giveaway, 668 households, also done at South Winds, as well as Santa's Workshop toy giveaway, over 3,500 households in South Oxnard. And of course, we have our summer lunch program. In the last several years, we've served over 22, I think there's a typo there, but I think it's 22,000 meals. Could be 220,000 meals. I wouldn't be shocked. In terms of events, the PAL programs hold their Kids Fest, over 2,200 participants, kids and families and adults. The PAL program has various community events throughout South Oxnard parks. Each year, over 2,000 participants. We also conduct the Meetup Cleanup events, and we have a program called the Mobile Activity Center that has serviced over 700 participants in South Oxnard. With regard to housing, we have nearly $6 million invested in public housing through the Oxnard Housing Authority in South Oxnard. We have 5 apartment complexes, and out of those, there are 170 affordable housing units, again, within those 5 complexes. There is over $7 million of new investment coming in through our housing department, and that will be for 4 multifamily developments, and those will include 218 affordable housing units. We also provide Housing Choice Voucher Assistance Program for 386 vouchers distributed throughout South Oxnard. With regard to homelessness, something that is happening not only throughout the city, but throughout the state and the West Coast and other parts of the country. We've done a lot of work coming right in front of us or right ahead of us the next couple of months. We did receive a state grant to do a major operation at the McWayne homeless encampment. So that's coming up in the next couple of months. Those projects cost a lot of money. We're very fortunate that in this most recent round of state funding, we were awarded this amount. We also have choice neighborhood grants, and we are applying. So these are potential, but we are actively applying for between $25 and $40 million for investment of the Hueneme Shopping Center for redevelopment. Hopefully we'll get some or most of those grants, and we can begin work on that redevelopment project. With regard to community development block grants, $2.3 million invested. You can see there Pleasant Valley Park Restroom, South Winds Youth Program, the Rec on the Go program in the South Winds, and the basketball court reconstruction. So some state funds there. There's also a little bit of private investment going on. So I'm obviously not going to get into the details of these, but we share you this just to share a comparison. So obviously there's more private investment occurring in North Oxnard, but South Oxnard is not absent private investment. Now, these can include projects which are residential, commercial, industrial, or mixed-use developments. The reason we share this is often, not every single time, but often when there's a private development, it comes with some required public improvements immediately surrounding the vicinity. So again, South Oxnard is not absent some private investment.
City Manager, before you lose that slide, can you tell the public where we draw the line, South Oxnard, North Oxnard?
Mostly Woolley, I think, is the conventional wisdom. I personally don't draw it anywhere. I leave that to all of you.
In the past, Woolley Road had been,
Yes. All right, library. So we've been investing in modernizing our libraries, including the South Oxnard branch. And you can see we're getting new computers in there for the patrons to use, new computers for the staff to use, and then some specialized tech for bookkeeping and self-checkouts. We have, of course, Fire Station 8. That is and these funds come from Measure O. That is over $800,000 annually to operate that station, which, like all fire stations, is 24/7, 365 days a year. We also have, in terms of the responses, Station 8, since 2000, or no, this is for 2021, over 4,400 emergency responses out of that station. And we continue, because we're still paying for the station, we continue to invest in paying for it. College Park, which is not complete but significantly completed. College Park, we invest, again, over $800,000 a year for ongoing maintenance. And in terms of the city's large community parks, not the neighborhood parks, College Park, I think, is the most advanced one relative to certainly Sports Park. And Campus Park is just now getting off the ground. Fire Department also invested a lot of resources during the pandemic, but especially the height of the pandemic, conducting many COVID tests, over 1,900 in various South Oxnard locations, and of course they provided all of those for free. Also, specific to districts 5 and 6, and this now goes back to 2018, over 6,800 advanced life support responses to residents of South Oxnard from our fire department. In terms of our ongoing efforts to get new working smoke alarms installed into people's homes, you can see here In the last year, the fire department has been successful in installing free smoke detectors around the city to 650 locations. 239 of those are in South Oxnard. Now, each location usually requires more than one smoke detector. So you can see out of the 650 addresses citywide, that's over 4,600 detectors being installed for free by our fire department. And again, it's because, they have to be in each bedroom and specific
Mr.
other
City
locations.
Manager, Councilman Turan has a question.
Yes.
Thank you. For this particular slide here regarding the smoke detectors, I appreciate the numbers being broken out by district, but I also want to point out that many of the recent developments, specifically like in River Park, Wagon Wheel, even South Bank, may have homes that had wired-in smoke detectors and are newer and maybe have not met their life expectancy yet and need a replacement. And so, whereas if we think back to the first slide, the number of remaining neighborhoods that were developed prior to the 1960s or during that decade, in my head, I think would start with Sierra Linda and Orchard Park and everywhere south, probably should be taking advantage of this to at least have your smoke detectors inspected. And many, I have heard, have far exceeded their life expectancy and should be replaced even though they still seem to operate, or even though the batteries may be replaced regularly, which many people don't do anyways. But I just wanted to point that out. Given the age of many of our developments, some of the newer ones may have smoke detectors that don't need to be replaced yet, but could benefit from inspection. But plenty of other, probably the majority of homes in the city of Oxnard should take advantage of this, correct?
Right. Yes, thank you for that nuance.
Mr.
Many of the
City
newer
Manager,
apartment
one more
buildings-
question from Councilman Perella.
I've had a request from residents that they would like to have the smoke detectors dropped off. We can have a statement from the fire department. They are installed by the fire department. They're not
Correct.
dropped off, correct?
Correct. They need to be installed by our staff.
That's the
We
policy,
cannot just hand them off. It's the requirement of the grant that provided the detectors to us for free.
Thank you.
And Councilmember Turan, thank you for that. Yes, most of the new apartment buildings have hardwired detectors. That's correct. Okay, moving along. So police. Police, I'm just going to go through these. They send their staff out. They've attended this past year 40 neighborhood council meetings in South Oxnard. They have increased their police presence and enforcement along the Savior's Corridor, which consisted of addressing business owners' concerns, loitering and trespassing, and also listening to Councilwoman Basua's comments about what she observes down there. Also, this year so far, the year is not over yet, 80 arrests, 20 of them being narcotics related. The Drug Enforcement Unit also works on bigger cases, specifically 15 different cases involving narcotic activity. And of course, vehicle theft detail in South Oxnard, including 10 recent auto theft arrests and vehicle recoveries this year. Our police also attend, in addition to the neighborhood council meetings, many community events. Of course, they help out with the turkey distribution. They participate in Read Across America at 𝐒𝐨𝐽𝐻 Elementary School. They do a coffee with a cop at the South Oxnard Senior Center. They attend the National Night Out event this past year. I think there was one at Cal Giesler. They also participate at Oxnard, at the College Park with the Oxnard Pal Kids Fest. There's a Red Ribbon Week that they participate in at E.O. Green Junior High School. And this is unfortunate but necessary. They provide active assailant presentations, most recently to Hueneme High School. Sad that we need to do those things. Okay, now just to get people familiar, the police department is organized in police beats, So they have, currently with the population that we have, they have 4 beats. So you can get a sense of districts, sorry, not beats, districts. And then within each district, there are police beats. So District 4, and I think is that part of District 2 covers South Oxnard. So just to have a orientation, because they are not, these districts preceded the council district formation in 2018. Okay, calls for service. Lots of information here. I'll give it a summary in comparison to other Oxnard Police Department beats. Beat 42, which includes South Winds, is among the mid-range in numbers of calls for service. So similar to other beats in Oxnard, 3 consistent calls for service types for beat 42 include, and so again, these are the most common ones: traffic stops, subject disturbing, and homeless disturbing. And our response times are 5 minutes and 5 seconds, and South Oxnard response time is relatively equal to that, averaging 5 minutes and 4 seconds. I will say that, again, as our population grows and in the future, not the near future, but not the far future, when we have a functioning police precincts down there, that will help improve response time throughout the city. In terms of streets, so believe it or not, since 2016, the city has invested in over $36 million in street and alley work in South Oxnard. I know there are many neighborhoods still that are in desperate need of street improvement, but we are working to catch up. I'm not going to go over this list here, but this is a public document now, and it's available if anybody wants this. But we are investing. So let me just go through very quickly and see what I can rattle off here. So arterial street improvements along 𝐈𝐲𝐷𝐻𝐸 Road, east of Saviors Road, alley reconstruction, Woolley Road crack sealing, Kepler Drive resurfacing, San Mateo Place resurfacing, Sierra Place resurfacing, Eden Street resurfacing, Sutter Place resurfacing, Geronimo Drive resurfacing, north of Maple Street alley reconstruction, Ormond Beach Neighborhood Street resurfacing, Rose Ave Street resurfacing, and then within that, let me see, I see East 5th Street, Bard Road, Emerson Ave, 5 Points Northeast, Pacific Ave Commercial Central, Bard Road, and then there are different kinds of work, maintenance overlay, thin maintenance overlay. Those are things you have to ask the Public Works people exactly what those mean. And then Channel Islands Boulevard, Arterial Street resurfacing, Concord Way, alley reconstruction, Pleasant Valley Estates Neighborhood Street resurfacing, 𝐈𝐲𝐷𝐸 Road widening, storm drain improvement, water line improvement, and bridge widening for an industrial drain, College Estates Neighborhood Street resurfacing and water improvement project. There's another list there: Pleasant Valley, Lark Street, Fournier Street alley, Paula Street, Del Oro Place, Homer Street, SA Street E, I have no idea where that is, and Bryce Canyon Ave, Xavier Street resurfacing, Elm School sewer pipeline replacement, Redwood Neighborhood Street resurfacing, Saviors Road, Pleasant Valley, Saviors, Clare Street, Hood Way, 𝐈𝐲𝐷𝐸 Road, Cortlandt Street, and something called Route 23 bus stop installation. So various projects going on. Okay, a few more stats there. 2.5 miles of lane restriping and legends, over 2,600 sidewalk grinds to help prevent trip and falls, 1,200 plus potholes. The last year and this year so far, we're at 782. Then in terms of responding to 311, so this is specific to when residents and business owners put in a 311 request. We have 342 requests for sidewalk repairs, 30 for curb and gutter, 176 sign repairs, and 38 asphalt sidewalk ramps. Almost done here. Parks restoration projects, and these are just the highlights. So Garden City Acres Park, new basketball courts and lighting, that was completed last summer of 2022. South Winds Park resurfaced the basketball courts. Pleasant Valley Park, there's a new playground equipment project that's going out to bid. Pleasant Valley Park, there's a new 𝐒𝐨𝐜𝐿 project. Is right now waiting for connections by utility companies. We expect that to open after the new year. College Estates Park, there's a new 𝐒𝐨𝐿 bathroom coming that's in design. We expect that first quarter of next year. And of course, the big decision by this council many months ago to invest in building the city's first ever aquatic center that is slated for South Oxnard. And as many of you may recall, due to the most recent Mr. Aaron Starr lawsuit against the city, that project is, and I'm sorry for this pun, is dead in the water until we get through that litigation. Some other parks improvements in terms of the last couple of years in South Oxnard, we have replaced picnic tables and benches, park barbecues, 26 of those, replaced trash cans, drinking fountains, and are working to continue new playground equipment, as well as safety equipment in the sidewalk at the parks. So again, some of this is completed, a lot of this is ongoing. And with regard to just a breakdown of 311 calls for requests for service, you can just see in South Oxnard we have, and now this is since 2019, we have over 26,000 requests for service from South Oxnard using the 311 app, which I always say is both a good thing and a bad thing, because most of the things that you report on 311 are committed by our own neighbors and other people who live here. So it's good that we're able to try to keep up with some of this, but it remains really bad that we have to keep up with a lot of this. In terms of reports of illegal dumping, we have, as you can see here, this is since June of 2021, 5,800 reports of illegal dumping in South Oxnard. Again, thank you for using the 311 app, and it's just a terrible problem, and it's sad that we need to. And that is it. It's a summary. I'm certain that isn't everything, but I just want to make it clear we are investing in South Oxnard. We are struggling to keep up with the work. We have, if you look at the capital improvement program for the city, there's a lot more work that's been approved by the council. Now it's a matter of funding, which, as I alluded to with the aquatic center, we are dead in the water with all of our major capital projects, be it roads, bridges, rebuilding the fire stations that are more than half a century old, or a new aquatic center, which this community sorely needs and deserves to have. We can't do any of that right now. So anything we do right now, we're burning cash. And that's going to run out very, very soon. So unfortunately, the progress that we've been able to make since the passage of Measure E is also slowing down. And it isn't just because of Mr. Starr's lawsuits. It also has to do with the economy, with inflation, and with the labor market. But we are continuing to make progress. The point I want to share is that I can say with a straight face that City Hall is not neglecting South Oxnard. In fact, and some of you know that I'm working on this, that I'm very focused on this for the next few years. The public institution that's in South Oxnard that hasn't been doing enough is actually the community college, and we are working on that to help them move along and to invest more in South Oxnard in the community. So we're focused on that, because the primary problem is that in our community, people's wages are too low. That is actually our biggest challenge as a citywide community. And the simple answer to that is a little bit of additional training and education for our residents. And there's only one institution in the entire county that can provide that, and that's the Oxnard Community College. So we are working on that, and I hope to have an update on that sometime next year. Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, thank you for giving me all this time tonight.
Mr. City Manager, before I go to Bert Perello and to Ron, I just want to thank you for that excellent report. You know, I know it's a general report. If we went into specific, it would probably take, another 3 or 4 hours just to say all the good things that we're doing in South Oxnard and throughout the city for that matter. One of the things that I'd like to share with you that you mentioned that I've heard is that how come North Oxnard neighborhoods look so nice and so forth. And you mentioned, and I hope that the public picked it up, that a lot of the folks in the newer neighborhoods have HOAs, they have LMDs, CFDs, where they pay additional monies for the landscaping, which some of the older neighborhoods in Oxnard do not have. One of the things that I'd like to mention publicly too is that you saw some of the alleys that we cleaned up. And I want to thank Marvin Booz has been week after week, day after day, cleaning alleys in the city of Oxnard. Him and some of those folks from Casa de Vida and some other volunteers that have helped clean our alleys. And I hope that potentially some of the people that live in those neighborhoods clean up their own alleys, because I know that Marvin many times has mentioned to me that he goes by and they're cleaning their alleys, and people look over the fences and says, "Oh, what are you guys doing, cleaning the alley?" Says, "Yeah, can you help us?" Well, we don't have any time right now. But if all of us got together to clean our neighborhood, our streets and alleys, we wouldn't have a lot of this litter. And Oxnard is not unique, by the way. But I just want to thank you for an excellent general overview of South Oxnard and some of the parts of the city. And Councilman Perello.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to add Mr. Marvin Booz in Casa de Vida, and he has volunteers consistently from the Mormon Church helping him, and I would shout out to them. I appreciate this presentation. I do not represent parts of South Oxnard, but as a council member, I'm responsible for parts of South Oxnard. I'd like to see if we could get slide 3 and slide 11 back up on the PowerPoint. On slide 3, the question I have, it indicates in the center part of the slide, these events are all taking place in the South Winds neighborhood. And I'm wondering, we distribute those events throughout the South Oxnard area? Or are all neighborhoods equally informed of what's going on with the events taking place on slide 3?
So we do these events in a few other areas. This report's just focused on South Oxnard.
Okay, thank you. So it's distributed. I just wanted to point that out because somebody may draw the wrong conclusion. Again, an excellent report. On slide number 11, we did indicate that there had been some arrests for the car thefts. And can we get a report? Because I know that the council members receive the weekly, daily update, the activities going on, the numbers of car thefts in an area, but most important, Chief, the number of guns that are taken off the streets in the entire city and the portion that come off the south end of town, the South Oxnard, apparently Woolley Road South.
We can do that, and since we're at it, we'll just do one for every district.
Okay, because the fact that you're taking guns, automatic, ghost guns, stolen guns, and guns that apparently are owned but they're illegally being used, and protecting our residents throughout the city of Oxnard is a big thing. And I hope to give you guys an opportunity to share that with us, because I don't think people realize it. I don't think they realize what you guys go through every time you come upon a car.
We could do that, and I'd suggest that we do that at the next police department update.
Okay, thank you. Those are my only questions.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Turan.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the information and the context around investments that have occurred in South Oxnard. One thing that maybe I missed it, but I do want to give credit where it's due, is in Durley Park, where I believe it was in 2019, the Parks and Rec Community Services Commission recommended and the city council approved $500,000 to be spent at Durley Park to replace a playground. And that playground, prior to that, I think was one of the oldest unimproved playgrounds we had throughout the city. Believe it still had sand and was missing a slide, as many of our facilities do, but had a small footprint and not much actual equipment to play with. And if folks go and check it out now, it has a baseball-themed playground with rubber compound and some accessible amenities there and equipment for children and adults who may be challenged with mobility. And so I encourage folks to go look at that, but that was another investment that was made there. And in addition to that, I believe the city received a $7 million grant for additional park enhancements and upgrades at Durley Park as a whole, which did include, similar to Campus Park, engagement with the community in saying, what would you like to see at Durley Park? What can we do? What should we do that is relevant for this community? And those community members voiced their thoughts and their opinions. The grant was written with that in mind and was awarded by the state to the tune, I believe, of $7 million, maybe a little bit more. Lastly is regarding some public works improvements, and I did see that there was paving that was mentioned there, and maybe our public works director can correct me if I'm wrong on this, and I was talking with Mr. Quitos prior to the meeting, and I was trying to remember which neighborhoods we had that had cast iron pipe replacements and repaving after the pipes were replaced, and I believe it was Redwood and Bryce Canyon North and South, with us recently approving 𝐒𝐲𝐿𝐴 neighborhood for the same type of work. And I see Mr. Wolf's walking up here. Do those sound correct, those particular neighborhoods?
Yeah, the first, good evening, Michael Wolf, Director of Public Works. The first two predate me, but that rings a bell, and then the last two, 𝐒𝐲𝐿𝐴 and Hobson, are the other two.
Hobson would be another one. And before you leave, the cast iron pipes, those date back as far as, I believe in Colonia, they were like 70 years old, I would imagine. In these neighborhoods, probably around that age, maybe 60, 70 years old as well. Does that sound right?
That's a good assumption, yes.
Okay, so this is a major investment that I hope folks understand is we have a number of neighborhoods that still have cast iron pipes, but we have at least these check marked off of our list in the Redwood, Bryce Canyon North, and Bryce Canyon South neighborhoods, soon 𝐒𝐲𝐿𝐴 and Hobson. And I know that my neighborhood, Fremont South, and then Wilson neighborhoods are in the queue as well, a couple fiscal years down the line. And while these may be large capital projects and disruptive to daily life, know that the delivery of water reliably and in newer transports like PVC piping is important to health, safety, and welfare. So that's my only questions. I thank you, Mr. Wolf, and thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I understand we have a couple of virtual speakers. Let's start off with virtual number one.
Yes, Mayor Zaragoza, we have two virtual speakers. And the first one is caller with phone number ending in 6377. Please press *6 to unmute and introduce yourself if you like, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello.
Go ahead. 3 minutes.
Hi. Yes. My name is Emanuel Herrera, the creator of Citizens for Better Oxnard. I wanted to basically say that I agree with Mayor Zaragoza and Councilman Perello that this was an excellent presentation. So, you know, we often hear, like what the city manager was saying, we often hear that the city is neglecting the south side of Oxnard. Why is it? Why is it that they're always neglecting the south side of Oxnard? But as you can see by the presentation, that's not necessarily the facts, right? So one thing I've always said is that the best citizen is an informed citizen. Well, I want to add to that. The best city is one that informs its citizens. So this presentation, I think, was outstanding. I think you guys should do this more often, and not just at a city council meeting. For example, I'm watching you guys through YouTube. There's only 21 people watching right now. Now, I know there'll be other people watching later after the fact, but this is very important information that needs to go out to over 200,000 residents that live in Oxnard. And right now, only 21 people saw the presentation. So I encourage not only the city manager, the city staff, the city council, to please continue to give out the proper information, because facts are facts. You cannot dispute facts. So continue with giving presentations like this that are going to inform the citizens of Oxnard of what's being done. Because also don't forget that if they think you're not doing something, they think you're doing nothing. So by all means, I invite the entire city council, use Citizens for Better Oxnard, post on there things that are happening, things that are coming, things that you're doing, because the people need to know. The more they know, the better informed they are. The better informed they are, the less they can complain about, right? So please continue to do this. Also, the city belongs to all of us. And I also agree with the mayor in his comment that the people of Oxnard need to do their part too. Like he was talking about the alleys, that Mr. Booz goes out there and he cleans the
30
alleys.
seconds.
And then the next week it's back to the same old thing again. So the people need to do their part as well. So anyways, let's continue the good work. Thank you so much. And please continue to inform the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, virtual speaker, Madam Clerk.
Yes, Mayor Zaragoza. The next speaker is caller with phone number ending in 9442. Please press *6 to unmute and introduce yourself if you like, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, this is Deirdre Frank. I'm calling about this issue. The people in South Oxnard are not asking about your Band-Aids and your charity that you've given to their neighborhood. They're looking for a vision of the future for this neighborhood. What's the vision for this neighborhood? What is in South Oxnard? Ormond Beach. No one's brought up Ormond Beach. This is the future of South Oxnard. It's going to provide for ecotourism, Audubon interest, university research, laboratories, marine science, botanists studying native plants. You'll have hotels for ecotourists, laboratories with science students. You have allowed the Port Hueneme Harbor District, which I have great respect for, but you've allowed them to intrude on the space that should be preserved for Ormond Beach and the future of South Oxnard. The Harbor District's been infringing on your space little by little, and lately not so little. Going through a checklist of what your accomplishments are, what pipes you're putting in, what alleys you're cleaning up, that's fine for the immediate inquiry by your residents. But these people are looking for a vision, and the vision of South Oxnard is probably the most economically feasible area of Oxnard for astronomical growth. It's not shops, it's not shopping centers, it's science, it's tourism, it's ecology, and you're missing the big picture. Spend your money on acquiring more land, working with your land conservancies there. You're getting rid of your I know Alex is working on getting rid of the Halico and the power plant there. Make that a priority.
30 seconds.
Believe me, if I had any extra discretionary funds, I would be buying all the properties in South Oxnard with the anticipation that Ormond Beach is going to bring unbelievable financial success to that area. You're missing the big picture. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more virtual speakers, Madam Clerk?
Mayor Zaragoza, there's no additional virtual speakers.
Okay, so we have people here, Sofia Vega, and followed by Carolina Magana. Sofia.
Good evening. My name is Sofia Vega. I am the South Winds Neighborhood Chair, and I am also serving in the INCO board. And yes, I think some of the comments that were expressed earlier virtually can resonate, and others I question. Just like how they said that they are accessing the YouTube video, although the Tuesday, September 19 video was taken down, and I've been trying to look for it. So that's something that I hope to see. Not sure why it's not available and on there. And I'm sure I hope to hear back to figure out what's going on with those videos that were taken down and they're not available to the public. And another thing, it's the holistic comments that were brought up regarding South Oxnard. When there's major issues that need to be addressed, that's what we're focused on. So during events that happened and need immediate attention, that's what we're looking for. I know we understand and we're very grateful for all the services that we've had and the great communication and connections that we have with the rec department that's been allowing us to, use some of their PAL buildings to be able to host the food distributions there on Saturdays, and the amazing events that they put up for South Oxnard, South Winds residents there. But like we saw in the map, right? And there was a comment that they said facts are facts. Yes, of course. And we can see it on that slide where it says that private investments are majorly placed in the north side of Oxnard, right? And I'm sure there's more to that where, the actual business decides where to go, or if the city of Oxnard can suggest locations of where they can put their business. Sure, but you can clearly see some of that is highly needed on the south end. And I did notice that you have some grants being worked on. Who's responsible for that? When can we see some work or status on that? I know Housing Director Mr. Ramirez mentioned something like that. So we're looking forward to hearing more information as far as who will be responsible for those grants. How can we know more about it, and what are the steps to be able to get those grants? And I don't know, the taxes were raised for everyone in the entire city, right? It wasn't just for food or electronics, it's flat for everybody. Taxes are 9% or more. And we're getting some of that invested back into the city with services. But is there a possibility of raising the minimum wage for all the residents here in Oxnard? Is that something the city could do? I don't know. And so when we talk about and we come here that we're being neglected, we're looking at those issues, immediate issues that we're addressing when we need those services. So I hope that you don't take it personal and that we are being addressed immediately.
Thank you, Sophia. And staff was taking notes, Sophia. Thank you. Carolina Magana, followed by Carlos Quiroz. Carolina.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak about this issue. And first of all, I will start about the Hotel del Playa Inn. I wouldn't mention it, but since the city manager mentioned it, we were not told this was a project from that building company. We were told one thing and then another, so we were all confused. I guess now it's clear who was the owner of that project. And I have a question about some of the reports on the presentation. It was mentioned from June 2022 to June, I believe, 2023. There was a presentation for crime statistics in 40 neighborhood meetings. How did that happen? We only have 12 meetings in a year. So is that accurate? The other question I have is that for the Winnie Road widening storm drain improvement. What part of Winnie Road? It was not clear. So this has to be clear as water. I guess the presentation said Winnie Road, but not specifically where. And so I guess that's all. And I truly appreciate the presentation that the city manager had. And I also agree with the last speaker, not Sophia, but the other person who was on the phone. We are asking for a vision for South Oxnard. We are not asking to fix that, just the small picture. We have a big potential for revenues for the city. We have the Ormond Beach right there. Why don't you guys have that vision? Or if you have it, why don't you guys come and tell us? We can bring a lot of revenues to the city. We can make it better. We are such a big potential for better. So thank you.
Thank you,
And please,
Carolina. By the
nothing
way-
is personal. It's just my.
And those are good points, Carolina, and some of our priorities, we have talked about a vision, and also the city manager mentioned about the vision for Saviors Road all the way to Winnie Road, and
Yeah.
so we do have that information, and potentially in the future, we can have a meeting at your neighborhood so we can present those ideas to you. And thank you for your information.
That would be so much appreciated. Thank you
so much. Okay, Mr. Quiroz.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, city council members, member public. Sorry, I don't like giving my back to anybody out there.
That's okay, you're addressing the board. Thank you.
Thanks. One of the things that I want to say is I'm the chairperson for Redwood. When I became a chairperson, it was stated that there was a council member out there that got the member together, or the group together. I'm sorry, I get real nervous on this.
You're doing okay, go ahead.
Just don't give me the heart attack.
One of the things that I want to say is, we're paying extra money from Measure E, and I would like to see if we could get a task force to see if we could get individuals or the city hire somebody out there to start cleaning alleys. And it's unfortunately and disappointed that we have to have volunteers to do the alley cleanup, which I've done it before. So all I'm doing is asking you guys and to look into it, if you guys could do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quiroz. Madam Clerk, do we have any other speakers virtually or in person?
Mayor Zaragoza, we have no additional speakers virtually or in person for this item.
And Mr. City Manager, thank you for the excellent presentation.